guys hear me okay? Perfect. Well, I don't know everything about content, but I do know a lot. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to use content and content marketing as a growth engine. But before I jump in, let's just raise your hand if this applies to you. How many people here run an agency? Marketing, content marketing, growth, conversion, whatever. Wow, okay. What about how many people do marketing at an e-commerce business? E-commerce. CRO. How many CRO agencies or consultants out there? Cool. Okay, you guys have a really competitive market to stand out with content. But I'm going to share with you kind of the things I've learned along the way. And I mean, I'm running a marketing agency. There's a million of them out there. And I'm sure there's a lot of great agencies, but how do you stand out? And I do it with content marketing. So when I get this clicker working in a second, oh, there it is. I run two different businesses. I have Repurpose, a marketing agency, and Ramp Ventures. Essentially, we have 5 SaaS businesses that kind of operate as one company. So we have 2 different marketing teams applying it essentially to B2B. This is our growth engine. And this is actually a screenshot or a picture I took of a whiteboard. I just was like, let's figure out how much we're relying on content marketing. I kind of wrote out all the things we're doing. And holy crap, we're like 95% leveraged on content marketing. We use content for almost every single part of our funnel. And I did this kind of this past summer. And you can see that there's content for kind of the top of the funnel, the exposure side, the advocacy side, and other parts of it. And the way I'm able to actually run multiple companies and leverage content for different use cases is that I'm selling, essentially all to marketers and sales folks. So from ebooks to SaaS to our training products to our consulting, they range in pricing, but essentially it's selling to the same person. So we can use a lot of our content marketing for that same audience. So this is not just something I made up, content as a growth engine, or something to sound sexy. We actually leverage this. We actually use it at these 4 different companies. WhenIWork.com was a company I was the VP of marketing at. Took it from 1 to 10 million in annual revenue. And we built about 5,000 new trials a month using content marketing, just from content marketing. At Web Profits, we generate over 100 leads. Again, all we really do is content marketing and a bit of Facebook ads. To promote the content. Mailshake and link texting, both my SaaS businesses, generate over 100 customers each from content marketing as well. But the general rule of content marketing, and if you're going to leverage this, is at the end of the day, create something significantly better than your best competitor, or at least aim to, because if you get lucky, you actually succeed. But if you aim for this, the luckier you're going to get. And the world doesn't need more mediocre content. There's already a lot of top 10 tactics to grow your business, top 10 tips, top 5 this and that, growth hacks to 2x your revenue, whatever it is. You got to talk about something real, something different. And when you do that, it's actually going to resonate with your audience. So here's how I see content and the marketing funnel. I'm going to break it down into 3 different parts, right? There's the top of the funnel, there's traffic, awareness, exposure, branded searches, what have you. You can use co-marketing, things with other large businesses, other similar businesses to yourself. Epic content like ebooks, checklists, interactive content templates, and things like that. And I'll share with you in more detail later on in the presentation. You can use guest posts, again, to get yourself out there to a new audience, and content circles, which I'll define later. For the middle of the funnel, you can use things like leveraging influencers' content, getting people who have a brand to go right for your site. Videos, webinars, again, co-marketing, because if you align yourself with another successful brand, people actually consider you to be more authoritative, more successful. Behind the scenes stuff, showing people that you actually you're a real human being, that this is how you do things, right? I love like Conversion XL's research, and they have real life stuff that they share, how they do it, what they do, and whatnot. And then the bottom of the funnel, customer stories or success stories. You can even ask your customers questions and leverage that for content. Conduct surveys. And you can use essentially the same stuff as the top of the funnel, but just targeted to your potential customers and your customers. And you can actually get them to convert higher if you just send them the content. So what I'm going to share with you today is 11 different content marketing tactics you can leverage using this kind of framework. So at the end of the day, before you move forward, I said that rule of like, hey, create something significantly better. At the very least, if you don't follow that rule, at the very least, stop creating mediocre content. And the internet will thank you, trust me. We don't need another top 10 article. It just doesn't work. So I'll get into the first one. This is my favorite type. I do this all the time, especially when we work with new clients or when we're working with a new brand that doesn't have an audience. Instead of creating a lot of content, we create one epic piece of content, like an ebook. It's usually something ungated, something usually with high volume keyword, and then we'll spend most of the time either, after we're done creating it, promoting the heck out of it, building links, creating ancillary content around that, and driving traffic to it. When we launched Mailshake, my SaaS business, or actually before we launched Mailshake, we created this email outreach playbook. That's how we got our word out. When I did cold outreach to essentially sell the software, I essentially promoted this ebook, and I was like, hey, check out this book. I'm not trying to sell you something. It's actually valuable. And then they're like, you have a tool. And that's how they found out about us. Another example here is a company, wheniwork.com. We created epic content. And this specific example, you can't see from the previous screenshot, generated over 1.5 million views in under 2 years. It generates 100,000 visitors a month to the blog, and it counts for about 1/5 of the traffic to the blog from just one article. So you don't need hundreds of articles or hundreds of pieces of content to drive traffic. You just need a handful of really, really epic ones. And what was different about this article, and so the keyword we rank for is team building games or team building exercises and things like that. What was different about this was that it was just something significantly better and more up to date than the rest of our competition. So this is not the best article ever produced. It's actually, in today's standards, or my standards today, this is an okay article, but it is better than my best competitor. It's better than what's out there, and that's all that matters. Number two, and this is something I think everybody here can leverage, and I'll give you a couple examples, but content circles is essentially something that is right around your target industry. So I'll give you that example of wheniwork.com. They're an HR tool. Technically what they do is employee scheduling. But what the heck is that, right? What does that mean? It's a time clock. It's a way to when you're supposed to show up to work and the hours that you're supposed to work the next day and whatnot. But who cares about that? It's an HR tool. But what else is that? What is that? It's a tool or topics that are around that is employee engagement, small business, culture, productivity, management. These are all topics. One, the people who would be interested in our product, that scheduling tool, would be interested in reading about. Because if we focus solely on employee scheduling, we would get 50 people to our blog a month who are super active about employee scheduling, which, again, there's not many. 50 would be a stretch. But if we talk about employee engagement, there's millions of people looking at that. If we talk about small businesses and how to make them succeed, there's millions and millions of people looking for that. So it helps you broaden your scope. So yes, if you're a conversion optimization person or a CRO agency, it's competitive, but talk about something else. Now, when you mix epic content, those ebooks, something much better than what your best competitor has done, and content circles, that's when the magic starts happening. These are 3 examples of something we did that helped us get out of our industry. So on the very, very right is an article we created on customer advocacy. And this was under the Web Profits blog, Web Profits branding. But what we found is our customers, VP of marketing, CMOs, the decision makers, are in conversations throughout their day, talking to other divisions, departments, and they're talking about customer advocacy, especially more and more these days as customer success has become more and more important and has had kind of more limelight. So customer advocacy is an area we can compete in. If we made the next best growth book or the next best content marketing book, it's not going to cut it. We have way too much competition. We will never even pass through the top 10 list. In the middle here, we did one for a hosting company on building your personal brand. And personal branding has about 150 to 200,000 searches a month. If you include all the long tail, it's about 200,000. That's a lot of traffic. What does it have to do with the hosting company? Well, one of the parts of the article is if you want to build your personal brand, one of the best ways to do it is with blogging, and in order for you to have a blog, you need to buy a domain and you need to have a hosting account. So that's how it ties in. Super, super stretched, but that's what gives us a big, big opportunity. It's easier to rank for personal branding for a hosting company than it is to rank for web hosting. That's a very, very competitive term, which we'll never, ever be able to compete in with that budget. And another one we did on customer delight, very similar concept to customer advocacy. One thing I find most content marketers don't do, and I think a lot of conversion folks do understand this, but what people need to do more of is take that best content, take the stuff that you create for your top of the funnel, and actually use it throughout the funnel. Use it to nurture or onboard new customers. Use it to convert customers. It's the same effort. In fact, it's just a little bit more effort to include it into your onboarding campaigns if you use Intercom, Drift, whatever. Throw it in the app. Help educate your customers to be better. You're already doing that. You're educating the market, or you're leveraging content marketing and educating the market to bring people in, so you might as well use that same content. And you'd be surprised how little this is used and how impactful this is. And frankly, just because you create it for the top of the funnel, don't assume your customers actually see it or your potential customers actually see it. Another tactic I love using is using the SEO, good old-fashioned keyword research, and going after the right keywords plus guest posts. So what I do is, anytime I enter an industry, anytime I do content marketing for any new clients or myself, I'm looking at who the biggest players in the space are. I'm looking at who the biggest sites are in the space, whatever the space is. I make a list of the sites, the people, their Twitter following, the domain authority, that's a Moz metric, and just the sheer number of backlinks they have. What I'm trying to figure out is, who do I need to compete with? How do I get in bed with these people? And then I use SEMrush, or you can use any other real tool, to do keyword research of things that they rank for. And why this is important is I want to know what the top 50 sites and what's driving them traffic. And why this is important is because once you figure out what they rank for, you can essentially pitch a guest post idea on a keyword that may be a zoomed in version or long tail, mid tail version of what they rank for. It's a highly likelihood of that other article you create for them to rank alongside, or easier for them to rank that piece of content than it is on something brand new. So this way you can get and piggyback off their strengths. And now you can't just pitch a crappy idea. You have to actually have a good idea, and that's up to you guys to figure out, right? I can't tell you what a good idea is going to be, but if you have at least a very highly likelihood of succeeding on an organic front because you're pitching something that they already rank well for or very authoritative in from an SEO perspective. Another thing that's amazing and underutilized is, instead of creating content yourself, go get people who actually have an audience to go create content for you and invite them to your blog, to your content. Too many people are like, I have to own this. You don't have to be the author. You have to be the source. When you're the source of information, you are pretty much, it's almost identical to if you are the actual creator of the information. So as a brand, you just need to be the source. Get people who are already authoritative, who have a brand for themselves, because what that can do for you is drive traffic. And content without traffic doesn't work. You need eyeballs, you need people. Kissmetrics built a big blog. I think they have about 500,000 visitors a month using this exact tactic. It's not the owners or the founders or the in-house team that's actually producing content. It's other people. And what they did even further was they incentivized people, their authors, to actually get their content to perform, and they paid them a premium, a bonus, if they hit X amount of views and whatnot. So it does work really, really well. Another thing to do is create content that's behind the scenes. Things that are showing that how you do things, right? It's really hard to compete on content marketing, but it's not as hard to compete on how you do content marketing. So show the work. Showing the work is kind of half the fun as a marketer, for me at least, of kind of how we do it. It's a lot of, that's what we're going to spend most of our time on. So you might as well document it and share it. And here's a couple examples. We did this, I actually did this with my marketing plan. That first screenshot I shared with you, I created a whole video and exactly laid out what we're doing, how we're doing it, because I'm not afraid of sharing my skills or my knowledge. I'm not afraid of competitions using that. I want people to use this. I want people to do it. The hard part is executing, right? The next thing here is behind the scenes. Like, we cannot compete as an agency with the million other agencies, everybody creating good content. But what we can compete on is sharing our process. And in fact, we took a lot of this questions and things we get from sales calls, and we created top of the funnel content. So how our team is structured is actually just based off of us talking to our customers. And talking about customers, another great way to leverage your customers for growth is to actually interview them, right? We all know in CRO or essentially for improving conversions, you got to understand your customers. You got to talk to customers. But when you do talk to them how they are being successful in what they're trying to achieve. So for Mailshake, we're a cold email tool. I started interviewing customers and how they're successful doing cold email. I don't care how they're successful doing cold email using Mailshake. That's just one tool, right? I just want to advocate the cause of how you can be successful using cold email. So here's an example of an interview we did. We're doing one or two a month of these, and they're working incredibly because what it's also doing, again, we're sending the same content that we use for top of the funnel to our existing customers, to our prospects. And what it's doing is giving them ideas how to better leverage the tool. So it's actually keeping our customers longer. So it's increasing our LTV, which is awesome. So one piece of content, me doing customer research and interviews, is actually being used for top of the funnel content and increasing LTV. Not a bad use of 30 minutes of my time. Again, talking to your customers is really important. Again, surveying them is great too, or even just your audience. If you don't have many customers, let's say you're still working on figuring out how to convert them, your visitors, into customers, survey your audience. Ask them what their top problems are. Ask them about what they do every single day. Like, what is the thing that they're thinking about at night? And just go write content, write an ebook. Go really deep. Write an ebook to solve their biggest problem. Because if you can solve their biggest problem with content, you've won, right? You've already got their trust. And if you use content circles to reel people in and then actually solve your customers' problems, you've got the top of the funnel and the bottom of the funnel solved. We did this with a Snapchat guide. So Web Profits, we don't do any real social media work on Snapchat. I don't think it's possible for our agency to actually help clients with Snapchat. I don't know if it's also worth it, but at the end of the day, what we found was people, when we talk to our customers, when we talk to potential customers and our visitors, our audience on our website, we found that people are actually interested in Snapchat. Oh, how do I leverage this? It's the latest and greatest thing. Maybe it's Instagram stories or Facebook Live or whatever it is now, but we pretty much got that information from our customers and our visitors, and we created a piece of content on how they do it. Again, even if we don't provide that service, it's an area that we can help educate our customers because people are like, how do I leverage Snapchat? I don't know if people have that answer yet, but at least we created a piece of content that helps people get there a little further. And number 10, repurpose that best content you've created for the top of the funnel, the ebooks, the written content, into other things. I personally love turning my written content, my best content, into webinars, into presentations like this, videos, even microsites. Wishpond did something really awesome. They turned some of their best content on lead generation into this whole lead generation educational portal. And you can do the same thing with ebooks. The reason being is that people learn differently. I don't know about you guys, but I don't learn by reading books. I learn by reading blog posts. I learn by listening to audiobooks. I learn by coming to conferences. Some people do the same thing with webinars. Some people do the same thing with videos. And that's okay. But if you have really good content in written form, stretch it out further, leverage it further with other formats. And lastly, and this is really, really important, especially on the B2B side, if you have a sales team or if you're a SaaS business like ourselves, we teach our customer support to actually start using our content. What we do is we create a list of all the top pieces of content. We categorize them by keyword or category, and we send our customer support and sales team this spreadsheet. And at the end of their customer support tickets or their sales calls, they follow up with 1 or 2 pieces of content that would be helpful for them. And this has helped us a lot because at the end of a sales call, we're literally following up with more valuable information, things that can help prove that we're an authority in this space. At the end of solving a customer's problem or a bug that we have with our service, we leave them with a good taste in their mouth with some piece of content. Again, making your customers smarter. And if you're lazy, there's tools like Sigster. I have no affiliation, just a neat tool I've been using that you can actually just essentially set up with your email platform, and you can control as the marketer, control the banners, the information that goes on the bottom of your sales, your customer support, or your team's signature. You'd be surprised how many people actually click on the signature. If you throw your latest conference, your latest article, whatever, it can quite work well. Thank you guys, and I think we'll have some time for questions.